Welcome to the Purpose Cycle podcast, the podcast that brings you impactful practices to help you build towards fruition and fulfillment. Here's a sneak preview of what we've got in store for you today.
Do you want me to be completely transparent? There's some days where I don't feel like posting. Whether it's in the gym, whether it's in my own life, whether it's in the service that I'm providing. How do I make it better and how do I do it? And then it's putting it into action and making it work.
Thanks for joining us again for part 2 of my episode with Josh Beet. And if you haven't checked it out yet, please check out part 1 before you start listening to part 2. Without further ado, here's part 2 of my conversation with Josh Beet.
It does. And you mentioned that sort of personal touch to the programming as well. And I just thought, there was a post the other day. You post on Instagram, are very sort of truthful and transparent and very informative as well. And there was one the other day, a couple of months ago actually, you're talking about staying hungry and one of the values that you had. And then there was one the other day as well when you sort of said about the journey being a bit of an uphill struggle. That was a more recent one. So why do you feel like it's really important to be authentic on social media to your clients?
You know what? I think it's do you want me to be completely transparent? There's some days where I don't feel like posting. There's some days where I don't feel like getting involved in social media because the market is incredibly saturated and there's messages coming from left, right, and center. And sometimes you think to yourself, am I just adding to the noise? Am I just adding to the noise? Am I just confusing the market? But then it comes back to that self-belief again. It's like, no, I really am in this game. I really do truly live it. I'm not trying to pull the wool over people's eyes. This is what I truly believe in. This is what I've truly lived for like 15 years, and I believe if, you can do this consistently and your messaging is consistent over time, that people aren't daft as well. So if one week I'm, talking about dogs, and then the next week I'm talking about, training hard and consistency, and then I post a story where I'm at McDonald's, and it's a mash. It's a mess. So yeah, I think that one of the things that that I always try to do as well is, and I should rephrase that. I don't try to do it. I think it's just consistent. My message is generally quite consistent, and I think that whether you want to call that authentic or not, it just is what it is. I'm just posting what I believe, and a lot of the time it's like what I'm just thinking at the time. What's going through my mind. It just so happens that because I truly believe it, the consistency is there.
Yeah, I think people can see that as well. And you said about the market being saturated. It's a real shame, but I personally don't think that authenticity is very saturated. It's everything, like you said, about adding to the noise. When you truly spot a profile or somebody who's genuinely authentic, I feel like people gravitate to that a bit more because they think, right, I can relate to the challenges that I face daily as well.
100%, mate, and that's one of the things that I often remind myself. I always think to myself, all you can be, Josh, is just yourself.
Yeah.
All you can be is yourself. So whether people pay attention to your posts or whether people engage with your posts, or they don't, it is what it is, kind of thing. And I guess recently I've been thinking to myself, if somebody doesn't resonate, and if somebody doesn't end up in my inbox, or if somebody doesn't end up reaching out and saying, Josh, could you give me a bit more information about your service, or I'd like to work with you, or what does this mean? It's just maybe not meant to be. It's just not meant to be. And the people that do end up in my inbox and I do end up having a conversation with, or I do end up having a working relationship with, that is meant to be. So all I can do is just, I guess just keep true to myself, believe in my message, because I truly do believe in it. And, what will happen will happen. I can kind of like go to bed at night knowing that, I'm doing the best that I can. I'm trying to promote a positive message. I'm trying to, advocate a lifestyle that I do live by. This isn't a facade. This is what I live by. This is what I do. And I've done it for 15 years. And what will be. If people take to it, amazing. If they don't, well, tough luck, Josh. Deal with it. It is what it is. So yeah.
Does that affect then the content that you consume yourself? Is it you're looking for something quite similar, or How do you sort of where do you get your content from? Are you a podcast listener? Do you read articles? What sort of things do you find?
Do you know what? I've I would probably say I'm getting more and more cutthroat with it, as I'm getting more and more into this personal development thing, whatever you want to call it, this personal development thing, this, finding yourself thing, this natural kind of like evolution of yourself. I'm getting more and more cutthroat with what I'm consuming. Like on TV, like even like probably, I think 4 years ago, I think was the last Love Island that I watched. So I'm listen, I'm not knocking Love Island, but that distracts me. That distracts me from what my purpose is. So it's almost like every decision that I make now and everything that I consume, I'm thinking to myself in my head, and I'm getting quite meticulous with it. It's like, is this building me or helping me? And is it the wind in my sails? Is it like a backwind for me, or is it a headwind for me? So Love Island, don't get me wrong, it's entertaining. It's not very good TV, but it's addictive TV, right? So I now just don't watch it. I just can't watch it because, it takes up an hour of your evening every single evening. And I just think to myself, if that's happening, 7 days a week, that's 7 hours a week. That's 28 hours a month. Wow, that's a long time. Like to just be watching something like that. What else could I be doing in that time? What else could I be doing? So I guess it's like a filtering system.
Yeah.
What am I watching? What am I listening to? Who am I listening to? And also identifying, the people that are around me, what are they talking about? Is it just trash? Are they just talking about nothingness? And is it just, is it just chit chat for the sake of chit chat? Or progressive? Is it productive? Is it adding value? So yeah, I guess as I would probably say over the last 18 months in particular, I've got a bit more meticulous with that. And yeah, I think now, sorry, coming back to your question, John, I just got a bit carried away there, mate. But coming back to your actual question, I like to listen to audiobooks whilst I'm training now. So don't get me wrong, I still listen. I love hip hop and rap music, so I listen to that. I listen to a bit of everything, but mainly a little bit of that whilst I'm training. But more and more so recently, I've been listening to like audiobooks. So when I've been training, I've got real clarity with my thought. Like I'm listening to content that is building me and helping me and adding to me whilst I'm building my body. It's almost like I'm absorbing information whilst I'm fortifying and building my body. And I don't know, mate, it's quite powerful. You become quite, you become more of it's almost like you're becoming a more well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
That's driven towards your purpose, if that makes sense, and what you want to achieve. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And I share that with you there, the holistic person, rather than just developing, your legs that day or whatever, you're working on your mind, everything together.
Yeah.
There was one thing there that you sort of mentioned about, watching this sort of TV that doesn't make you don't have to think when you're watching these like Love Island programs and stuff. And there's a bit of a stigma, I think, about, well, if I listen to this podcast or if I start reading this book, it's almost like it's an effort and I have to. But for me, when you do begin that, so I'm a little bit behind you, I must admit. I pick up the PlayStation controller and I pick up my laptop and I think, right, I'm better off writing 500 words here. And then you get into a habit, don't you? It just builds. You think, actually, I feel much better about myself because I haven't wasted 2 hours of my life. 28 hours a month is what really struck me. I thought, wow, next time that season comes out, I'm switching off, I tell you.
Yeah, it's little things like that kind of like, if you're just watching 1 hour a day, don't feel like much. But obviously when you actually start to compound that time, it's a lot,
Yeah.
And I guess the thing is with any sort of like goal or mission is that all purposeful goals and missions are long term, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm looking at is small things that will affect the long run. So that 1 hour an evening in the moment is nothing. It's that short-term gratification, if you like. It's nothing, right? But if I do that every night, that's going to hit me hard over 6 months. That's going to hit me hard over 12 months. That's going to hit me hard over 10 years. That's going to be crippling over 10 years.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah.
That and it's crazy to think you mentioned 10 years and that you're in your sort of 10th year. So the things you did at 20 are now you said about having to work on yourself, make sure that you were ready for the accounts, ready for the business ownership, setting your routine. That's all helping you now. And you can see that with the sort of fruition, which we'll talk about very soon. But just we've covered pretty much the entirety of the creation phase, apart from just your regular day-to-day routine now then. So what does a normal working day look like for you?
So I like to get up at the same time every day, mate. So my alarm's set for like 6:30. So I'm up, and my day's begun. My day's begun. I'm out of bed and it's kicked off. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I don't really have a set wake up time, then you're starting the day off. You're starting the day off in the unknown, if that makes sense. If you don't know when you're waking up and what you need to do when you wake up, you're not starting the day with a spring in your step. So I guess for me, it starts with getting up. Every single morning. I'll come downstairs. I'll tiptoe downstairs because I don't want to wake the kids up, but I tiptoe downstairs and I make myself my my oats, whey protein and blueberries. That's what I have every morning, mate. Every single morning. So all of a sudden there's two things that I've kind of like done that kind of sets the ball, or sets like the day in motion. Number one, you were supposed to get up at 6:30, tick, done. Number two, you're supposed to have your breakfast, tick, done. So it's almost like like football teams building like a winning streak.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah,
so you're almost like building like your own kind of small winning streak for the day, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
you know
momentum is
huge,
isn't it?
Yeah, momentum. And do you know what's real funny as well? Like I say this a lot of the time with my clients, like momentum's a really funny thing because it always starts small, doesn't it? Right? Any sort of like momentum starts small. It's like the snowball rolling down the hill. The first 3 or 4 turns or rolls that the snowball does, the snowball's still reasonably small. But because you've got the snowball going, the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th roll, that snowball all of a sudden is massive. So it's very important to do the small things well, get them done straight away, start the day on the right foot, and then I feel psychologically that you're on the right path. It sounds really stupid because it's only getting out of bed and having your bloody breakfast. But it's objective. It's objective thinking. It's getting up and it's getting it done. And then all of a sudden your state of mind's in a different place as well.
Yeah, and that's like that's down to, I think, probably your self-talk as well. If you're somebody who's a bit of a pessimist and thinks, oh, I need to earn £1 million if I'm ever going to make it, then that goal's going to be there for forever. Whereas if you just break it down to like, right, make the bed, like done, have a breakfast, done. Those wins actually can feel a lot bigger. It's your perspective, isn't it? I suppose your perspective. If your perspective is these little small victories are going to help me later on in the day, then I suppose you'll probably sleep better at night.
Yeah, do you know what? For sure. Perspective is everything, mate. It's really interesting. You could drive by a homeless guy, right? And you could give him £1 and he could be over the moon, right? Yet the multimillionaire had a bad business month where they only profited £500,000 for that month and he could be gutted.
Yeah.
So perspective and self-talk is everything, mate. Yeah.
That's crazy. And what we'll do is then move on to fruition before we do a couple of questions, quick fire questions. But yeah, fruition. So we spoke a little bit about this off air, and the sort of it's kind of the end of the purpose cycle, but then it sort of kickstarts the next one because it can inform where you go from there. But what does your future fruition and what you may be reaping now that will help propel you to the next step of pardon the pun with your programs, but level up and then begin a future cycle?
I guess, do you know what I like about the cycle element that you've been saying? It insinuates that it's never ending. It's always going. There's a continuation of things progressing, and I guess that's the way that I'm seeing the business now. And the service, I guess. You see flaws and things that you can improve, and you do that, and then over time you'll see new flaws and things that you can improve. So I guess going into next year, I mean, I've already started doing it. I've just actually, taken somebody on part-time as well, which is a new addition to the program. That happened yesterday, funnily enough. Right. but I'm always looking to build and develop the program. So I guess for me, it's a constant game of reviewing, assessing, and progressing. I didn't mean to make that rhyme, but reviewing, assessing, and progressing.
Yeah, it's all that hip hop you've been listening to.
I know, it's getting wired into me. But yeah, so I guess that's it, really, mate. I never want to kind of settle. I always want to kind of like look for areas of, what can I improve? And I guess it's that cogs in the clock thing again. One area is doing great. How can I, oil another area and make that area better? And how can I, just keep leveling it up? I think that, and the thing is as well, do you know what? I think I think that way. And I thank the gym. I thank the gym lifestyle, because the gym lifestyle, it's a game of infinite levels. For example, let's just say a hypothetical situation. If my goal, this is just completely hypothetical. If I let's say I'm currently bench pressing or squatting 90 kilos, and my goal was to get to 100 kilos, there's going to be somebody else that can squat 120. So all of a sudden, that becomes the next goal. Right, I've hit 100, great. Well, the game isn't to stay on 100. The game then is to like, right, what do I do next? Oh, I need to get to 120. Right, but I've noticed I've got vulnerability in my lower back. Therefore, my trunk stability is not where it needs to be to bear a load of 120. Right, here's what I need to do. I need to go and do lumbar extensions. I need to do, reverse hypers. I need to work on barbell glute bridges. I need to do, X, Y, and Z to build up these accessory sort of like areas and supporting muscles. So what you do is, in my opinion, the goalposts are constantly changing. It's never just like, there's my target, hit, job done. It's like, what next? Like, what can I do now? And then it's almost like thinking, right, that's the goal. Now to get there, I need to reverse engineer what I need to do. Do you know what I mean? And then that creates the step-by-step process to get there. So, and this is what I do with all my clients as well. So if they say to me, I always kickstart a conversation with them, right, where are we currently? And secondly, what is it you want to achieve? So what I've got where they are, where they want to go. And then what I do is I reverse engineer from where they want to go back to where they are now. And that creates the stepping stones to get to the other side, to where they want to be. So that's kind of like the continuation, sort of like process of where I see everything, whether it's in the gym, whether it's in my own life, whether it's in, the service that I'm providing. How do I make it better, and how do I do it? And then it's putting it into action and making it work.
Yeah, and hearing you speak there, a lot of it was about forward. So, and that's really good, because you could get the person who could squat 90 and think, oh, there's quite a lot of people squatting 80 and 70. So that I'm doing great. And that's another thing that I noticed about you. You're always looking forward. And then you also mentioned there could be a deficiency or a challenge that you need to overcome in order for you to progress. How did you respond to your biggest challenge or failure that you have encountered in the last 10 years?
Well, it was quite abrupt. I won't get into the details of it, but it was about 10 years ago, actually. No, it was a little bit longer than that, actually. It was about 11 or 12 years ago. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, mate, I had a lot of responsibility on my shoulders. I'll be honest, when I was growing up as a kid, I wasn't a spoiled kid. I wouldn't say I was spoiled, but I was very well taught. Got everything that I really wanted for all Christmases. I never really had to work for anything. I know that I was always the last to pay board, out of all my mates, out of your friendship circle, everybody else was paying board. How does Josh get away with not paying board? I was very kind of like well treated, like growing up, I would say, mate, very fortunate. And then all of a sudden, it hit the fan, and I had a lot of responsibility on my shoulders. Life got pretty serious pretty quick. Yeah. And, when your back's against the wall, the only thing that you can do is push back, and start thinking objectively, and start thinking, right, wow, this is serious. If I'm going to overcome this, I need to act. I need to act, or I'm going to get bulldozed. So that, I guess, installed a really kind of, I would say at the time it was fear. It was like a fear of, wow, this is serious. If I don't implement X, Y, and Z, this is big bother for me and for my family. So I guess that made me start thinking objectively. That made me start to think, what needs to be done to get to here, to get out of this sticky mud here and get across to here. What do I need to do? And let me start with the most immediate high priority task that I need to do. And then it kind of like you just build it. It's almost like you work through like a to-do list to get yourself out of the mud and to get yourself, through the, to the light at the end of the tunnel sort of thing.
Suit Up Apparel is a new menswear company who provide customers with a compelling range of products that combine looking amazing with comfort. The team at Suit Up Apparel know how testing the day-to-day grind can be, so they have focused their collections around one simple phrase: look great, perform even better. Suit Up are offering new customers 20% off their first order with the code WELCOME20, but don't worry, the Purpose Cycle podcast listeners can get 10% off future orders by using the code PURPOSE at checkout as well. Go on to suitupapparel.co.uk, that's suitupapparel.co.uk to see the fantastic products on offer, and remember to stay sharp and suit up.
Talk a little bit about this with realization, the 4 different factors. Task orientated realization, where you might think maybe climbing Everest is a bit too much of a challenge, first of all. Like we mentioned earlier, realization of others, about your circle. But it seems to me there what you encountered was a sort of situational realization of, that you've been popped into a situation, but then a realization of yourself. And as I talk about the answer to all 4 of those, no matter, which one it is you and what you decide to do, because ultimately you can control the controllables, and it's your action that gets you out of that. So it's just really inspiring there to see how you didn't go, oh, poor me, why has this happened to me? The world's against me. You decided to go the other way and, like you say, push back, which I found there really inspiring. I'm sure listeners will there as well.
You know what, John? Like, do you know, a lot of my clients, mate, the ones that do the best are the ones that don't have the victim mindset. The ones that don't have the victim mindset. And listen, these guys aren't perfect as well. They make errors, but these are the ones that own up to it. They almost like own their own truth, if that makes sense. It's like, nah, I messed up. I know where I've gone wrong. Here's what I have to do. And it's those guys that always win because of their outlook. But 2 people can, fail at a certain point or stumble, against some hurdles or whatever. But it's the state of mind that gets them back up and back over the hurdle. The victim will never. The victim will never. The optimist will get up. They will take ownership of where they've gone wrong. They won't make excuses, and they'll move forward. And this is the thing. There's nothing wrong with making mistakes, and there's nothing wrong with coming up against challenges. But if you play the victim, it's game over, because ultimately the world and life is very fast paced, and even your closest friends, they've got their own problems, they've got their own challenges. So they're not going to drop everything that they're doing and help you. Ultimately, everything lands on you as an individual. If something's going wrong, it's down to you. If something's not working, down to you. Something you're doing, down to you. Simple as that. And the moment people start to realize that, that's when you can actually start to seek progression, because progression can only happen with self-awareness and ownership. If you don't have it, you're up against it.
You talk about self-awareness and ownership. I was just going to ask you, actually, do you have sort of 3 non-negotiable traits that you like to, first of all, personally carry yourself, and then obviously from within that instill into your children?
Yeah, I mean, I guess getting up and attacking the day would be one, I guess. What we discussed earlier, getting up at a good time, getting a good breakfast down you, so you're starting on the right foot. I think that's really important. I think everybody should be doing that, no matter what they do. Whether they train in the gym, whether they run a good business, whatever. Everybody should have a morning routine, because it tees you up for the day. I think secondly for me is training. I absolutely love training, John, not just because of what it delivers physiologically, but what it does for you mentally. The way I see it, you're like fortifying your body. You're building your body, you're building your vessel, you're building the machine that carries you around on a day-to-day basis. there's something quite inspiring in doing that. You know, when you finish a session, you know, I've never heard any of my clients finish a session and feel underwhelmed or feel demotivated. You know, you finish a session and, you know, even if you're tired, but you've overcome something, you've conquered something.
Yeah.
And I guess the gym, I was saying this earlier, you know, the gym lifestyle, you know, it's all about reps, isn't it? You know, when you go into the gym, it's about going through those reps. Or if you're a runner, you know, you get down to the track and they say, tonight we're going to do, I don't know, 8 400s. Oh, yeah. So you got to do the reps. They're not nice, but they make you stronger. So it's repetition, it's practice, it's consistency, it's choosing, because all reps are difficult, right? You know, whether you're lifting a weight or whether you're running around a track or whether you're sprinting up a hill, no matter what you're doing, or whether you're doing rounds in a boxing ring or an MMA ring. So the principle and the concept is the same. The reps are difficult, but the more and more of them that they do, the more that becomes your norm, and the more that you become more accustomed to it.
Yeah.
So you're fortifying your body, you're building your body, but the biggest thing is that you're building your mindset. You're building like your own kind of like ethos and way of living. So I guess that would be my second one, training. Third non-negotiable, I think. So we've got getting up early, training, and do you know what? The third one for me would be would be nutrition. Would be nutrition, because what you put in your body is your fuel. It's your fuel. So you want to be fueling yourself with good nutrient dense foods, because ultimately, again, that's fueling the vessel. You know, you're building the vessel, but you want to fuel the vessel. So there's a couple of things really. You know, you've got kind of like a mindset sort of element, you've got a nutritional food sort of element, and then you've got like a maintenance, building and developing the machine sort of element.
Yeah. Again, the whole person.
Exactly, mate. The whole person. Yeah.
I think that answers our next question, but I'll just state it anyway, because this was one from Instagram. What is the best way to stay motivated, and how do you avoid dips in diet/exercise? And I think a context of this one is probably because it's the winter time, and you posted about this the other day.
So you can't. So you can't. You can. What you're looking for is something that is like physiologically impossible. You know, don't get me wrong, I have days where my motivation sometimes comes in surges, overwhelming surges, where I'm so kind of like hyped up. But if I'm going to be transparent, you know, we're all humans, and I would probably say most of the days, you know, not depressed, but most of the days are a challenge. Most days are a challenge. You've got to, because it takes effort, it takes consistency, it takes intent. It takes, you know, you've got to be thinking about it. So actually, so motivation isn't what people want to be seeking. What people shouldn't seek anything. People should be invested in building a new norm. And the new norm is like what we just discussed in that previous kind of like discussion there. It was about building the reps, you know, building kind of like this new norm for yourself, getting used to, you know, I mean, I like a lot of David Goggins, and listen, none of us can be Goggins. There's only one David Goggins. But what he kind of says is absolutely, you know, bob on, you know, where he's kind of like saying, you know, choose the path of hardship, you know, choose the path of friction. Because if you choose that path and you're voluntarily choosing difficult things, I'm choosing to get up at 6:30. It's easy for me to stay in bed till 11. I'm choosing to get up at 6:30. That becomes my norm. I'm choosing to take myself downstairs and eat oats, protein, blueberries. I'm choosing to do that. Whereas I could get a McDonald's breakfast on a drive-through in my car. I don't even have to move or lift a finger. I just order it. It's there. Yeah. You know, I'm choosing to train and put my body through stress, tension, and not in an extreme sense, but a bit of pain. You know, I'm putting my body through that.
Yeah.
What you're choosing, all these choices, everything that you're intending to kind of like shoot for is difficult. So then when adversity is thrown at you, or when you're confronted with a challenge, it's like, it's all right, because I'm built for this. This is what I'm built for. This is what I'm disciplined in. This is what I'm consistent with. This is what my identity is. And then that just becomes, bring it on, you know, because I'm a guy that, and again, so it comes back to identity. This is what type of person I am. I'm somebody that embraces challenge. I'm somebody that confronts something head on. So yeah, I guess it would be don't look for motivation, because, you know, probably 75-80% of the time you ain't going to find it, you know. You know, and we all have triggers, like songs that get us motivated. You know, you might look at a really, you know, a before picture of yourself where you might be out of weight or something like that to try and trigger you and get you motivated, but sometimes they don't work. You know, there's been times where I'm on the way to the gym and I'm putting on my gym playlist and I'm like, God, I just can't be bothered today.
Yeah.
But the most important thing is just getting in there and just going through the motions and getting it done. And then afterwards, it's that stamp of, yeah, I'm a consistent person. I've done that. I've stuck to who I am. I've got it done, even when I didn't want to. And I know that these are just really kind of like even small kind of like situations. You know, let's face it, you know, we're not out on the front line or anything like that. This is, you know, we're talking about small things, putting yourself through small things, getting up early, going to the gym. These aren't really difficult things to do, but a lot of people do struggle with it.
Yeah, like you said earlier, they can compound into huge things. Definitely. I've always struggled with that term you said about motivation. I've always sort of thought, more recently, motivational speaker. So their job is to temporarily give you a buzz, and then what? So like you said, building that consistency is definitely key there.
That's it.
Couple more questions then. How can listeners make 2021 their year?
So what I kind of like say to a lot of my clients is and it's very subjective as well. So I can't tell somebody to do something specifically. It's something that you want to look for yourself as an individual. I say, like, look, where did you make kind of like, maybe not errors, but where could you have done things better last week? You know, what didn't you do so well last week? And I guess what people could do is set a non-negotiable for the year. You know, what did you do badly last year? Oh, well, I slept in too much. Okay, so one of your non-negotiables, you know, what was the average time you woke up last year? I was getting up a bit late. You know, I was getting up at like 8:30 when I should be at work for 9. Okay, this year, why don't you just get up at 8:15? You know, get up at 8:15. Give yourself 15 more minutes. So, you know, it's not something that's huge. It's something that's small, but something that's really impactful. And then a month down the line, you might make that 8:15, 8 a.m. Then all of a sudden you're giving yourself an hour. And then you might progress that to 7:45. So you're giving yourself an hour and a quarter. So you're giving yourself more and more time. So you can start to create yourself like little non-negotiables. But I would also say just start small. Yeah. Don't overlook small. Don't overlook, you know, small changes and adaptations, because like we were saying with the Love Island thing, you know, they do compound over time. They do compound. And yeah, I think that a lot of the time, I think a lot of people go wrong, particularly with fitness, because they're trying to be perfect. And I know that it's a really cliche saying, but don't seek perfection, seek progress. Just seek a little bit of progress, get it banked, be consistent with it. And once you've proven to yourself that you can be consistent with that, develop it a little bit, you know. So I would just say pick three things that are small, but you can create, you know, actionable, kind of like objectives around, you know. So one could be like, you know, one could be just, you know, when you wake up, you know. Another one could be like, you know, I didn't train really last year. Okay, could you wake up on a Monday, Wednesday and a Friday, and if you're not a member of a gym, that's cool. Could you just do 20 push-ups, 20 squats, 20 sit-ups on a Monday, Wednesday and a Friday? That means you're doing 60 a week. You know, over a month, that's 240 of each a month. You know, these things soon compound and build up. So that's another example for exercise. Yeah. And another one could be like hydration. This could be your third one. Well, I know I'm not drinking enough water. You know, I know I need to up my water intake. Okay, why don't you buy yourself a 2-litre jug? You know, buy yourself a 2-litre jug, and every single morning when you have your breakfast, fill your jug up, add a little bit of cordial, take it with you to work, and by the end of the day, make sure it's gone. You know, so all of a sudden you've got 3 really small kind of like non-negotiables there that will build throughout the year. You know, the new year, new me thing, it's too drastic. People try to make too much of a big change. You know, start small and build it, but let it compound over time. You don't want to be doing something too drastic that isn't going to withstand the test of time. Do something small, do something consistently, and reap the benefits long term.
Yeah. And I feel like I need to probably change the idea of the name of the episode that I was going to give, all about, you know, health and fitness. This is like the health and fitness.
We've gone way off track, mate. This is
gym. The gym lifestyle is definitely the epicenter of what you're saying here, but this can work for any area of your life.
1,000,000%, 100%. Yeah, this is it. Yeah.
And this is the purpose of this podcast as well. So I really do thank you for that. Right, where can listeners find you?
Mainly on Instagram. Username is @JoshBeatFitness, and it's the same for Facebook and Twitter as well. But most of my content really is on Instagram.
Yeah, well, all I've left to say, Josh, is thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Found it hugely impactful. I'm sure listeners will as well.
I could speak for hours, mate. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, thanks for having me on, John. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, cheers, John. Thank you.
Huge thank you to Josh Beet for agreeing to come on the episode and provide some really insightful discussions there into how he runs his online fitness business. Please be sure to check him out on his Instagram page. Every single time I open this episode up to revise basically what we've spoken about, I come away feeling hugely inspired, and also that I've obtained a lot of knowledge as well. So I hope you guys feel the same. Thank you very much for listening to that episode, and join me again next week on the Purpose Cycle podcast. Catch you then.